Hello, McFluffy52 here, back with some more Phyrexia All Will Be One action, and today I'm bringing you something extra special because we're playing a budget deck. And by that I mean we have no rares, only commons and uncommons. So I have a bit of a strange budget deck here because I'm calling it Budget Birds, but we're trying to do some kind of big flashy things while also kind of keeping low to the ground-ish, aggro-ish. So as the name implies, we're looking to make use of flying creatures. Particularly we have Sweeping Lookout and Malcator's Watcher. These both have flying and they both have vigilance and they're artifacts. Um, the artifacts part not being super relevant, besides the fact they work really well with Michiko's Reign of Truth, which says give target creature +1/+1 for each artifact enchantment you control. So we can buff up them pretty big with Michiko's Reign of Truth. And then Michiko's Reign of Truth flips over into a creature whose power or +1, it gets a 0/0 with +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment you control. So the fact that they're artifacts is somewhat relevant, but we can go ahead. Actually, it's also relevant for another creature, which is Unctus Retrofitter. So when Unctus Retrofitter enters the battlefield, up to one target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/4, as long as you can, well, as long as you have Unctus Retrofitter on the battlefield. So we can turn these pretty puny flying threats into 4/4 flying vigilance creatures with just Unctus Retrofitter. So that's kind of the goal here. We have some other ways to continue to abuse these kind of flyers. We have Hulking Metamorph, which is we can cast for 4, we can prototype it in for 4, and it's a 3/3 copy of whatever creature you control that you choose. So you can go ahead and choose to make a 3/3 flying vigilance creature that copies like Malcator's Watcher. So it's 3/3 flying vigilance, and when it dies, it draws a card. So we get even more value out of having these creatures on the battlefield. And then, since we're playing these prototypes, what works really well with prototypes is Touch the Spirit Realm, because A, we can use it as removal, because it says when it enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature until it leaves the battlefield, so it's just like a prison effect. But we can also channel it for 2 mana, and this can help us protect a creature, because it exiles that creature and returns it to the battlefield at the next end step. So this is particularly relevant with prototypes because you can prototype them out for, in this case, 3 or 4 mana, and then when we blink them, they return to their full cost side. So if we blink the Hulking Metamorph, we can return it to the battlefield, still copy the Malcator's Watcher if it's still on the battlefield, and then we have a 7/7 flying vigilance creature that when it dies, we draw a card. So that's pretty awesome. Some other cool cards in this deck, we have Stern Lesson, which says draw 2 cards, discard a card, create a powerstone. So since we're playing these expensive artifacts as sort of top end, if you will, but they also come in cheaper artifact forms. These are artifacts. Like, the fact that we create a Power Stone means not only are we drawing, we're also ramping, and then discarding a card can allow us to discard one of these expensive cards that we might not have a purpose for, and then we can repair and recharge them to return to the battlefield at their full cost side, and also create a Power Stone, further ramping. The probably one of the weaker parts of this deck, honestly, is the mana base. We have some tap lands here. We're playing Idyllic Beachfront and Tranquil Cove because, well, we have some double blue pips here with Hulking Metamorph and double white pips with Hulk Repair and Recharge. So that is relevant. Having the right mana colors is relevant, but it also is relevant that Idyllic Beachfront, we're not using one of the ones that sack to draw cards from New Capenna. We're using this one because it's a plains and island and help to enable our laydown arms. Besides that, we're basically just trying to jank our opponent out and hopefully win the game. Let's see how we do. There'll be a full deck tech at the end of the video, so stick around if you're interested in that. I mean, I already explained everything pretty much in detail. I try not to do that too much in the beginning of videos, but I felt like this deck is a little complicated, so we go ahead and broke it down some more. But yeah, we'll review at the end of the video, and if you enjoy Magic the Gathering Arena videos, consider subscribing, because We try and make new videos every single day on original and kind of strange or unique decks. So this hand's actually pretty good. Got Malcator's Watchers, Hulking Metamorph, copy it, double blue in hand. We played this deck some in standard queue, I think. I think that's a lie. I've played it in both in standard queue and in ranked queue. Malcator's Watcher is only going to be bad if we go into an opponent who exiles, but considering they're playing double planes, I'm a little worried that they might go for an exile. Yeah, just get in. One of the benefits of Vigilance is we never have to worry about the fact that are we attacking in and removing one of our blockers. Go ahead, do this. I mean, another Hulking Metamorph is probably better than another planes. We could have put the Hulking Metamorph in our graveyard to try and reanimate, but opponent is ramping in white. I do think they might be playing like Elesh Norn. Or hold off playing Michiko's Reign of Truth until like next turn. Now we have a 3/3 Vigilance Flyer. Also, I would say one thing about this deck, we're focusing on flyers here because I think the meta in general is very weak to flyers. Notice how our opponent really doesn't have any creatures with reach. I mean, yeah, we're only like a minute into a full game, but we have a way to destroy that enchantment, and if we destroy it and return the Metamorph, we're going to get the full 7/7 side of it, which will be awesome. No blocks. We do not have a way to... We do not have Destroy Evil in hand. That is the card of choice for blowing up enchantments in this deck. We got enchantment, artifact, creature removal. We don't have planeswalker removal. Oh. Well, we get to draw a card because they do that. Hopefully it's a land. Lay down arms is also not bad because then we can lay down arms or Architect of Restoration because we have 3 planes on the battlefield. This counts as the planes. Again, no blocks. Ooh, okay. Let's draw with this. This double striking 1/1 will actually do decent blocking against our opponent here. But I do think our opponent is playing some sort of Blink or Elesh Norn deck. This is an ETB, this is an ETB, this is an ETB, this is an ETB. Oh, look at the ETB enabler. I mean, they can blink. Ah, they're just gonna blow up our stuff one by one. That is fair. We can play out a Malcator's Watcher, and a Reign of Truth because we have enough lands. So we should be actually able to destroy our opponents. Well, maybe not able to destroy, but heavily damage our opponent's Eternal Wanderer. Oh no, it's gone. And that is why Michiko's Reign of Truth, with like a low to the ground artifact deck, could do a lot of damage. We're not quite... Yep, there's Elesh Norn. That shuts down the ETB of Hulking Metamorph, which is actually kind of problematic. We need to destroy evil or lay down arms off the top. They get their lay down arms, which is bad for us. Go blow up this just in case they have some sort of blink use, and then if we can draw off of this, we can also potentially draw into an answer for their Elesh Norn. Touch the Spirit Realm does not work, unfortunately, actually, because the way the ETB prevention works with this. Next turn we could cast this for 9 cost 7/7. Maybe we just hold this out. And then we just swing in and block and then blink. I think that's what we'll do. We'll block and blink with the Touch the Spirit Realm. That is very unfortunate though, that Elesh Norn is going to shut down our Hulking Metamorphs Enter the Battlefield trigger. So we can't actually make a copy of it, or make a 3/3 flying copy because of what our opponent has done. I do think we have to block here. We're taking 11 damage otherwise. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. Well, then this isn't gonna do anything as a like normal card. So we'll go ahead and use the channel effect so that it doesn't die, and we can chump block next turn as well. Opponent playing some pretty good cards in terms of mono white value. Oh, this copying of Chico's. Wait, did I miscount? I miscounted. Oh no. Okay. This copying the portrait of Michiko would also be very strong because the portrait of Michiko gets +1/+1. Notice how it says +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment you control. If we create a copy of that, the 3/3 copy still gets the +1/+1 effect. So we could create like a 4-drop that is massive. I think we're gonna go ahead and hold off with this still. We can keep on attacking in, but they have this life linker, which is gonna be problematic. So we really need another land, or a destroy evil would be amazing off the top. Opponent though is going to be able to draw like half their deck with these bank busters and this roadside reliquary. A portrait? Okay. Oh wait, they get to exile 2 things. We're dead. Elesh Norn. Haven't seen many people playing it, but it's still a good card. Today we'll see if this budget deck is actually good or if it's all just an interesting thought experiment. So far, our win rate doesn't look good, but I don't know about like what we've been, or the previous matches. I wouldn't be surprised if like I started playing one with this deck and then instantly conceded because I had somewhere to go, but he knows 10k. We have a pretty interesting hand here with Malcator's Watcher and Unctus Retrofitter. We also have Repair and Recharge, so we can return a Hulking Metamorph if we discard it. The Lookout is a little late to the party, but it will allow us to have another target when they remove this one. They're mono red. Or are they not mono red? Very slow mono red? I'm very confused. Alright, Unctus Retrofitter. If they go ahead and remove the Malcator's Watcher, in response, we still draw a card. Since it's gone, we don't get the 4/4 status. That is okay. If we draw another land, we can play a Hulking Metamorph. So our opponent is playing more of a big red Planeswalker deck, or they just got a horrible draw. I do wonder. Michiko's Reign of Truth would have been really nice around here. Was the correct plan to play out Hulking Metamorph? Yeah, I don't. To be most mana efficient, this seems reasonable. I do not like the fact that they could easily remove it with a lightning strike because it's only 3 toughness. That is the problem with the number 3. It's weak to lightning strike and strangle. Basically 4 toughness is a massive upgrade. Oh man, this would have gone so well with the Hulking Metamorph. That is unfortunate. Luckily, the Malcator's Watcher replaces itself in the sense we draw another card, which is nice. They play with fire the Swooping Lookout. I guess that makes some sense, but still.
That's it. I'm done playing.
I guess we should have played double Watcher there. I'm a bit silly, aren't I? Alright, Stern Lesson would be interesting. Maybe let's attack in first. Actually, if we Stern the Lesson, no. The only thing that could have happened if we Stern Lesson is if we found a Michiko's Reign of Truth and a land, but the chances of that happening are low. We're just gonna Stern Lesson on their turn. Do this in response. No, we wouldn't have found what we wanted, but that's fine. Urbas Forge can get shut down by that. We need another Malcator's Watcher. Feels kind of bad to give up the Michiko's Reign of Truth. You can touch the Spirit Realm there, Urbas Forge. Though we'd really love to draw a land and repair and recharge. Do we want to go for the land draw? I'm worried of them removing both of these flyers, and then we don't have a good, Okay, no, we did not draw land, so we can do this. This Combat Thresher will counter any Urbas Forge tokens, which is fun. We can go ahead and get rid of the Chandra here, playing Michiko's Reign of Truth on it. Oh my god. A 6 flyer. Well, you know, we missed out on 1 damage here, but I don't think that will make too huge of a difference in most scenarios. We get to repair and recharge this turn, though I imagine what we'll do is we'll play Combat Thresher and touch the Spirit Realm and wait till the next turn so we can create a massive creature with Michiko's Reign of Truth and the 7/7 copier. Walking Metamorph. That will deal with that, but that's fine with us. No blocks. We'll have a way to get rid of that. Yep, that goes down. Draw. And then touch the Spirit Realm. We'll go ahead and pick up the Forge. That should basically shut them out of the game, and we still have plenty of cards in hand, so I think we kind of have a win secured here, I'm not gonna lie.
No after party. I'm wiped out.
They have a very interesting deck. I would say that they need a few more creatures. Like Voldaren Epicure would probably be decent in this deck as like a 1-drop just to have something there to cast, and then you can use the blood token to filter when you don't have the right answer in hand. This transforms into a big creature. And you want to know what's better than 1 big creature? An absolutely massive creature. A 15/15. Oh, the beautiful. Alright, you're not going to be ultimating any cost here, I don't care. They're dead on board next turn, and they don't have a good way to remove, like, enchantments, so it's not like they're going to remove the Michiko's Reign of Truth here. And then next turn we can cast a full cost Combat Thresher. I mean, they're just dead. We can lay down arms, whatever they play, and still cast the Combat Thresher. They have 7 mountains? That is a bit problematic. That's fine. Alright, we get rid of this. I mean, we can, let's not give them any options here. Yeah. A 14/14. Mono Red's gonna have 0 responses to that. That was a beautiful match. Oh my goodness. I didn't even think about the fact that we can create a copy of the Portrait of Michiko and it still gets the +1/+1 effects. Or the plus effects. That's so cool. Another nice thing to copy is your Combat Thresher. So you play out a 3-cost Combat Thresher, and then you play out a 4-cost Hulking Metamorph, and then you have a double striking 3/3. That's pretty good. And then you can also, like, another thing to point out here is if you have like Unctus Retrofitter, you can make your 3-cost 1 mana double striking like combat thresher into a 4/4 double striker if you just cast this afterwards, which is also quite crazy. That was a nice match there. Demonstrated a lot of the combos and how the fact that Malcator's Watcher, when it dies, it draws a card is super relevant. We're able to just keep so many cards in hand, to some degree, even without any like bank busters or like like a hyper amount of like card draw spells. Um, ooh, this is an interesting hand. We're gonna get slowed down a ton by these tap lands, but I'm willing to try it out. Are we going first? We are going first. Ooh, do we want to play Sweeping Lookout turn 1 then? Then we're gonna take a turn off to cast a Malcator's Watcher. It's where do we want to take the turn off? Because we have 2 tap lands. Uh, let's get the Sweeping Lookout going. I think that's the plan. We might draw an untapped source here somewhere. Are you playing mono black and do you have cut down is really the question. Lay down arms could also do them some work here. I think we're gonna go ahead play down the island and the Watcher on our second main phase. Because we kind of want this Watcher to stick around. That is one of the more optimal creatures to copy with hulking Metamorph. We do have some interesting lands here. Double tap land start is one of those weaknesses of having a budget deck like this. They go for the 1/2. Strange. Go ahead, play out Combat Thresher, I guess. Just keep curving out. Keep curving out because we keep drawing untapped lands. There we go. We've done a little pecking at our opponent with our flyers. The birds. The budget birds. Ooh, Selesnya enchants. Okay. Alright, well, we're going to put a huge target on the back of our bird here with the Unctus Retrofitter, or actually, the Combat Thresher is honestly more appealing. A double striking 4/4, that's gotta be blocked, or you're taking 8 damage. They take 8 damage? Oh my goodness. That's, they didn't really want to block with the Generous Visitor, which makes sense. The card is, like, amazing if it stays on the board. Selesnya Enchantments is brutal. They create a token with their wedding announcement. Yeah, we gotta be doing our damage through flying here, I think. They don't got many reachers. It's gonna be their problem. Create a copy of this. I guess we could have created a copy of the Unctus Retrofitter if we really wanted, but they're probably just gonna chump block the Combat Thresher here with the token. That's why this deck is focused on flyers. As you can see, if we had the 4/4 flyer here, we'd have a little bit more of like a looming death situation for our opponent, but currently yeah, you don't want to attack in with that unless you have a combat trick. In that case, we probably won't block. We can go ahead and play out another Malcator's Watcher. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. You're never going to swing in with the Unctus Retrofitter because A, it's a decent blocker as it stands, and then it also, if it dies, it downgrades our Combat Thresher. Which, I mean, they could remove our Unctus Retrofitter as like a combat trick if they have an instant speed removal. Get rid of the Unctus Retrofitter and got less of a solution. They're taking 5 damage in the air, though they could Jukai Naturalist, swing in, gain 2, and then they'll be good for a turn. They don't go for it. Okay, do you have an answer to just all of this? Oh, we shouldn't have attacked them with Combat Thresher. My bad. I screwed this up. Because now they get to gain life. But we take out both their Jukai Naturalists. We would have won the game here if we didn't attack in with the Combat Thresher. it pays to stop and think sometimes. You can see they get to gain enough life to the point where it doesn't matter. We get to draw a card here. We might have actually wanted to draw a card first. No, it didn't make a difference. Alright, if they sweeper the board, we get to draw 3 cards because we have 3 Malcator's Watchers. They could play... They don't have a response to the Flyers. The birds keep going. That is, we're 2-1 so far. 2-1. We complete our quest. It's a lot of fun because it's just like such a strange deck. I'm glad that like I know that people have been doing sort of like Azorius artifact builds, but I feel like I successfully pulled off like let's do something a little bit different here. So I'm very happy with the way the deck turned out. It's a little bit slow. Again, tap lands making the deck generally weaker. We're going to be playing like a turn behind. Because we can play out Idyllic Beachfront and then play out an Idyllic Beachfront. And then cast a Swooping Lookout on the turn that we cast, or play our second land. And then next turn we'll be back to playing out things on curve. But opponent is going first, so that means we might just die. We might be a little bit too slow here, so maybe the move would be to mulligan, but I'm tempted to keep. You know, Swooping Lookout plus Unctus Retrofitter means that we get a 4/4 flyer, which is, whew, nice. 4/4 doublestriker proved to be very good last turn, or last game, though. And then the nice thing is, like, yeah, Michiko's Reign of Truth. I only am running 2 copies because we are a little bit higher costed artifacts here, a little bit higher costed curve here, with like the 4-drop hulking metamorph, the 3-drop draw a card, double striking 1/1. And that's why I'm running only 2 Michikos, and just to make room for like the other cards that we're playing. Opponent. This is Demir, I think. Rakdos. They play out Sulphurous Springs. Oh boy, it's an Atraxa Reanimator deck. We need to draw the right card to respond to this. Question is, will we? We'll start by playing out Idyllic Beachfront. No, we're Jund, but we're still a Reanimator deck. Every person who runs Vata Rebirth is a Reanimator deck. They can sack to get rid of the Lookout, but then they're not... then they're not swinging in for 3. That's what I thought, opponent. I knew you'd greed. So they might have another Blood Tithe Harvester. Or they might have removal in response. Do you want to force their removal? That is the question. You can force their removal here with playing out Unctus Retrofitter, but we could also just play out Combat Thresher and see if that baits out removal on it. Because it is a double striking 1/1 can be a bit problematic for 1/1 decks with 1 toughness. Just swinging with the bird. They might have a cut down or go for the throat. Go for the throat is going to have real problems against this deck because all our creatures are artifacts. And go for the throat says destroy target non-artifact creature. So that is another kind of like funny jank counter the meta aspect of this deck is we are running a lot of artifacts, so they can't necessarily play go for the throat super effectively. I think they're trying to decide whether or not they want to crack their blood token here, and they ultimately decide to go for it. Toxrill Reanimator, I actually like that a lot, that's cool. Haven't seen this card in a while, but it is so much fun on the battlefield. I mean, it's not fun to be on the receiving end of it, but it's just like an awesome threat. At the end of basically each end step, everything the opponent controls gets -1/-1. That's basically what it translates. As long as Toxrill is on the battlefield, each opponent's creatures get -1/-1 at the beginning of each end step. And then if Toxrill dies, they don't get the minus effect anymore. But yeah. What do we want to do? I'm really worried that we're going to play out Unctus Retrofitter, and in response, they're going to go ahead and remove the Swooping Lookout. You know what, let's do the Combat Thresher here. We'll target the Combat Thresher again with our Unctus Retrofitter. Yep, we're going to upgrade it into a 4/4 doublestriker. I generally like to, again, target the flyers, but I think they're going to be removing things. There it is, go for the throat. They can't hit our creatures. Alright, do you want to trade Blood Tithe Harvester? Actually, maybe we shouldn't have swung it. Now they would have been able to sacrifice it if they wanted to. There's a sack ability on it. Even if they have no blood tokens, they can still use it. No, we are not going to be blocking your 3/2. This card is up there for, like, I think this is the second most played creature in Standard right now. They go for the Demonic Bargain, so they gain 2 life. Or no, they gain life equal to the creature's mana value and draw 2 cards, yeah. Okay, draw 2, gain 2. Not bad for a deck that wants to be Vat of Rebirthing. We'll play out a Sweeping Lookout here, I think. Or maybe we wait until after combat. I anticipate they might want to remove stuff. But I don't know what our opponent has been having a lot of mana open here, but they haven't been casting much. Alright, let's go this. Actually, we'll do this. We'll Stern Lesson on their turn. And then next turn we can play out multiple stuffs. Hopefully we'll draw a land or something. Broker's Charm. Okay. I guess I could play this out in response, but it doesn't make too much of a difference. We're just bluffing that we have something. Though also, we might change what we pick to keep if we know what the opponent's doing. If they change what they're doing on their turn. This is a really good card for them because they can start generating treasure tokens, which they can sack to the Vat of Rebirth. Ooh, this is a tough pick. Discard this. About a hulking Metamorph, and what does our next turn look like? We'll have 6 mana. So we won't have enough mana to do exactly what we want. I think this is what we do. Yeah. Oh, it's just discard a card. I'm trolling. I'm so used to Faithful Mending. Swooping Lookout, bye-bye. Ooh, we have even more mana, so we could play out Unctus Retrofitter and a hulking Metamorph. Yeah, let's do this. Put that on the Sweeping Lookout, because I want this to survive to target it. I guess we could have played those in opposite order, and then targeted the Malcator's Watcher for their potential removal. Let's attack in with Combat Thresher, and then we can just hold back these two as blockers. I don't think they're going to be able to double remove them. Though, if they reanimate this next turn, or they hard cast Toxrill, we are in a bad spot. We are threatening 7 damage right here, so we'll have lethal next turn, potentially. Though if they get Toxrill out here, I don't think there's a way we beat Toxrill. So we didn't really get the aggro start that maybe we needed. For these kind of like endgame decks, either you need a clean response to their creature that they're reanimating. Well, even Atraxa though, like you can't even clean respond to Atraxa because her ETB draws them a bunch of cards. So maybe you have like, is Turn the Earth instant speed? Some sort of instant speed graveyard removal I guess could work against those decks, but still. It's not necessarily feasible to run against other matchups. It would work in best of 3, is what I'm trying to say. It's too specific. In best of 1, you gotta be a little bit too Swiss Army knifey to run those sort of things. Opponent takes it all. Do we still kill them if they reanimate this turn? I think so. I think we still kill them if we reanimate. If they reanimate. We're not gonna block, and there's a very specific reason. We don't want to give them. They can sack this treasure token to trigger their Vat of Rebirth, and if we kill the creature, they get another counter on their Vat of Rebirth, and they need 4 counters to reanimate with Vat of Rebirth. All I have to say is not blocking there actually guaranteed us a win. Though granted, if they reanimated, I think we still had lethal here. Well, particularly with the Unctus Retrofitter draw, but we would have lost Malcator's Watcher and Combat Thresher, and then we would have had 2+3 combat damage in the air and a 2/3, so or a 1/3 technically. So we wouldn't have actually had lethal there unless we had a way to pump our board, which we drew with Unctus Retrofitter. But yeah, close match. Kind of close, but also we won. Let's go. More birds taking home dubs. This deck has been performing. I was kind of worried that I was like, maybe this deck is a little bit too jank. Granted, I think there's probably a limit to how well this thing performs. If our opponent is playing like actual tier 1 decks, I don't know if there's much you can do against a tier 1 deck like running well. We do have a nice like anti-meta plan with the flyers and stuff. Oof, and special. Our first hand was bad because we just had like 4 lands and a 1-drop or something. Oh gosh, it's aggro. Mono black aggro. I haven't seen Cult Conscript in a while. I feel like Cult Conscript got kind of taken out of black decks in favor of like the mono black enchantments that like drain life or gain life, because they're just necessary to respond to the threats that mono red has presented in best of 1. Opponent presumably has removal in hand. Or they're waiting to play their Cemetery Trespasser until their second main phase, hoping that we will remove their Cult Conscript. Or, sorry, not Cemetery, Graveyard Trespasser. I predicted wrong, my bad. Alright, do we have the liberty to go about playing this Combat Thresher, or do we need to respond right now? Good question. I think I might favor responding here. They're kind of behind, but if they have Invoke Despair, maybe we just need to develop the board. If they're running Invoke Despair, it's going to blow up this enchantment anyways. Though they don't have Invoke Despair next turn. That is one thing. We can make a copy of that. It's a double striking 3/3 for 4 mana, not bad. Infernal Grasp, okay, so they're not going to have any problems with our creatures. So maybe this turn we touch the Spirit Realm, discard an island to get through the ward. Ugh. I don't know. I think we're just dead. Our draw was not good enough. Mono black. They have a 2-drop 3/2 with so much upside. It's quite a hard deck to beat. I'm gonna favor playing out the Hulking Metamorph instead of touch the Spirit Realming, because I'm afraid that they might just have Invoke Despair, I think. Though, to be honest, I didn't really think about that much. I was just in favor of playing out a creature rather than casting something to remove theirs, because it's basically the same effect. No, I'm not gonna block your Tenacious Underdog. I mean, if they have like Corrupt, we're gonna be dead here soon. They play nothing, so they can flip their Graveyard Glutton, which is annoying. We have no way of double spelling, but what we can do is just go ahead and remove it. We'll probably discard an Unctus Retrofitter, I think. Or Unctus Retrofitter. Gotta resolve the ward. Our opponent has something in hand. Alright. No attacks. We kind of need to not die this following turn. So if they have an Invoke Despair, we just concede. They don't have Invoke Despair. They would have cast it before combat. Well, if they knew what they're doing, that's what they would do. Because it would have removed our enchantment and our creature, and then they could swing in and they would have done 2 damage, and they would have had lethal. Lay down arms, that's pretty good. That can go ahead and exile this bad guy. I don't know if we're going to have a problem here with hulking and Metamorph. I've had this problem where... Actually, no, it was clones that targeted hulking Metamorph. That's what I had. I had a problem where if you target hulking Metamorph with like a clone, the clone that has the ETB of hulking Metamorph, and that makes it so your clone wants to copy something else as well, or like instead, and then it ends up with like 0 toughness if you don't have anything else to target. It's weird. I don't know if that's like intentional or a bug. But is it going to decline to avoid any sort of shenanigans? No attacks. Our opponent, they could get rid of our enchantment if they have Invoked Despair again, and then we're pretty close to dead. That's why they actually go for the throated there, Tenacious Underdog, in response to this, because they can just keep on returning it from the graveyard. And every time they return it from the graveyard, they, well, A, it has haste. And then Blitz says, at the end of turn, sacrifice it, draw a card. Okay, this is a good combo. Do they have go for the throat, though? Or not go for the throat, cut down. Well, they can target the Unctus or the Malcator's Watcher in response. Just in case they have cut down, because they did stick up the board there, I'm going to target the hulking Metamorph. I mean, they could cut down the Unctus Retrofitter in response. It doesn't make too much of a difference now, does it? Yeah, anything that doesn't have cumulatively, like, 6 power and toughness sucks. It's not particularly good because it cut down. I'm going to draw a card with Malcator's Watcher here. It's a sorcery. Can't exile the Tenacious Underdog. Alright, well, here's the finale. Do we draw something our next turn? Or do they have Invoke Despair is really half the question here. Because if they have Invoke Despair, it's still nighttime, so they can exile 2 creatures when it enters the battlefield. Ooh. Ooh. That's not good. Alright, we die to Invoke Despair. Like, straight up. Nothing else needed. I'm surprised they haven't hit a single one. I'm assuming they're running them. Oh, that kills us. It's nighttime, so they exile 2 cards, and each card that they exile, we lose 1 life and they gain 1 life. So that would have done 2 damage. And we are at 2 life. Mono black, demonstrating why it is basically the best mono color in the meta. I mean, it's the best mono color in standard right now. The question is, like, if you're playing best of 1, is it the best mono color? There's an argument to be made for, like, mono red being also very strong right now in best of 1. You can sideboard in a bunch of stuff against mono red in best of 3. This hand sucks, but whatever. Michiko's Reign of Truth does not do much. Let's go destroy evil out of the hand. I mean, if they don't play anything, we can Michiko's. I should have played Idyllic Beast Front. That was my bad. Yeah, just get rid of that. A Menace 2/2 that can be pumped for like 1 mana. Or is it 2 mana? Forget. Opponents can't gain life, it's 2 mana. Okay. I guess we're playing the removal deck. How the tables have turned, mono black. How the tables have turned. Alright, that's lame. That's lame. Fortunately, well, actually we can force a trade, or if they want to attack in, we'll just trade with the Hulking Metamorph. Edict gets around the fact it's an artifact creature, and if they go for the throat. That's annoying. If we draw an untapped land, we can return the Hulking Metamorph as a 7/7 with repair and recharge. It's a tap land. Here, enjoy. Though if we draw something instead, we might want to wait until Michiko's Reign of Truth flips. Yeah, this is really bad. We draw another land. Impressive. That is impressive. Do we just wait a turn? No, I don't think we can afford to. And the toughness of the power and toughness of the creature doesn't matter that much in this particular case. Another Edict. Damn. We won a few too many times, and now it's mono black punishing time. Mono black's like, I smelt a winner. We must crush their hearts. We won twice in a row, now we must lose twice in a row. Everything must be perfectly balanced, as Thanos would say. Roll a card for 7 mana. Alright, we drew another combat thresher, that's good. Can actually block up them pretty well. Though they can pump up their soul transfer. Soul transfer? And they are worried about Planeswalkers. Nobody runs this much Planeswalker removal. Hold on, let's go to the graveyard. Where is the view battlefield? Come on. Thank you. Planeswalker. Planeswalker. Everything that they have removes a creature or a Planeswalker. They are... I think they've been scarred by Espers. Esper players. Esper Planeswalker players. I don't even think Esper is like the most Planeswalker killers, to be honest. I guess Bant is pretty Planeswalker-y, but it just isn't much of a color in Standard, or a color combo in Standard. Esper is, I think, generally more favored. Oh, another case for just having not enough dual lands is gonna bite us in the back. Okay, this is keepable. Touch the Spirit Realm seems the least useful here. Creatures we want. Creatures are very good. Ah, please don't cut it down. Let it live. Let it live. Come on. What's done to you? Okay, they go for the Bank Buster. Awesome. Since we have the laydown arms, we're gonna go ahead and play down the plains land first. So this card is about the number of planes you control. And this is the plains. Awesome. Our opponent tap down can allow us to play the Unctus Retrofitter. At least get one hit in with our 4/4 before they sweep her next turn. Talking about Esper, looks like we've met our match. If they waste their removal on the sweeping lookout here, it's not too big of a problem. We can It's actually kind of funny. If we draw, oh, they actually go for that instead. Interesting. We don't actually mind because then we can copy the flyer. We drew an untapped land, but I forgot to specify. I guess we need blue sources because this is double blue. Unfortunate. Alright, we got our opponent down to 14. Our opponent is playing... Ugh, what are they playing? Everything but green? That is getting exiled by Lay Down Arms. Alright, you want to counter this. If they counter this, we can play our Hulking Metamorph out. They let it go through. Interesting. Alright, Hulking Metamorph, come down, copy the Swooping Lookout. So they could just remove the Hulking Metamorph here, I guess. There's an argument to be made for playing it out in the second main phase instead, to see if the Swooping Lookout eats removal, but I don't think it's that big of a problem. A flyer is a flyer is a flyer. Opponent might just sweep or the board here with a farewell. Exile everything. No, they're going for a crew. Be my guest. We only have an Unctus Retrofitter in our graveyard, so we got no artifacts in our graveyard to repair and recharge. It's awkward. That's a bad draw if we hit one. Oh no. Markov Purifier has life gain, which is less good. Do we gamble on hitting an untapped land? I mean, we could probably just do this and see if we hit an untapped land. Do this. I mean, we could also discarded the combat Thresher. We do hit an untapped land, so we can Stern Lesson on their turn. It's gonna be our last game. If we can win this, we call the deck a success. This music is kind of loud. Turn it down. What does this look like for us? Alright, so the answer is we're not gonna block with the combat Thresher. I think we're just gonna take 7 or 11. Same thing. It's basically the same thing, right? We get to draw a card. Now we're dying. I didn't realize they're gonna be vampires. No one told me this. We drew a lot of lands this game. Or that's at least what it felt like. Swinging with everything. Haha, it was a joke. They didn't expect that. So I guess we could have blinked the Swooping Lookout, and that would have been almost more worth it, because then we would have gotten a 7/7, but then they would just remove it. Okay, we drew another land. Good games. We don't make it past this. Our opponent's gonna kill us this turn, basically. If we have to block, we lose creatures to actually kill them with, so... There's too many 4 toughness creatures. If they have a single removal spell, I think we're actually genuinely dead. Give us the opportunity to block, which is kind. Alright, so we need to block everything. Yeah, that's gonna do it. The first strike is nice, but 7/7 probably would have been nicer. Or the double striking 3/3 would have been nice. Is nice, but 7/7 would have been cooler. And another land. That's got to be 3 or 4 on top of the deck. All right, let's go ahead and hop into the deck tech. We end up a negative win rate. I think we got a bit unlucky there towards the end, but granted, we are playing a budget deck, so I don't know actually if we could maintain a positive win rate. But I still think this is at least some budget fun. If you're looking for something interesting to play, won't necessarily say like, okay, it's gonna get you to diamond, mythic, plat even, but I think it's still a lot of fun for zero rares, and there's a lot of ways you can improve this deck, I think. In general, I think if you wanted to go a bit more competitive, go ahead, cut out your Unctus Retrofitters and like swap it in for a bunch, or like swap it in for some, for like another one cost artifact creature. Let's look. Creature, one, then also says artifact. So you could put in, okay, well, that's, I guess I can do type artifact. And that gets you your artifact creatures. So you could swap it in maybe for hotshot mechanics. Ooh, network disruptor wouldn't be terrible. Network disruptor keeps you in that flying idea. Like cut out these, put in like 2 of these. Well, cut out these entirely, and then put in like Michiko's up to 4 Michiko's Reign of Truth, and then you can play around the Michiko's Reign of Truth much more heavily. Because that, you saw it when it came down there, it turned our 1/1 flyers into like 6/6 flyers, which a few swings of those, and sheesh, the opponent's gone. And then like a very obvious way to like make the deck better is just, if you can, get yourself the rare lands. Just get yourself, don't get yourself deserted beaches. They're gonna be rotating. Well, if you really care, you can get yourself deserted beaches, but at the end of this year, deserted beaches will no longer be playable in standard. So get yourself Adakar Waste and Seacombe Coasts. That's what I would suggest for your increase, or like making your mana base better. Though while you simultaneously make your mana base better, you're going to be making your laydown arms worse. So that is something to worry about here. Is as you remove lands that are considered plains, this is only going to be able to exile like fewer and fewer things. So that is a bit of a heads up for the laydown arms. At that point, maybe you go ahead and swap it out for another thing that works kind of well with Michiko's Reign of Truth, which is not a rare card. It's Ossification. You'll probably still have at least one basic in hand, or one basic on the battlefield, even if you change to like, say you swap out the Tranquil Groves and the Idyllic beach fronts for like uh, rare dual lands. You'll still have like these 16 basics that you'll almost always hit. So you'll have a basic land to enchant, and then you can exile target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, which is nice. Um, and then other improvements, if you really want to like, you can probably look up some like Azorius artifact or like artifact aggro, mono white artifacts or something on like that on YouTube. You can probably see some other decks that maybe you can look at and see what pieces you want to take from that, because there's definitely more like creatures and stuff like that you can go ahead and pick out, or like more things that you could potentially add, because we do have like, we're a little bit janky here in the fact that we're playing Combat Thresher and hoping Metamorph and hoping to blink them or reanimate them, or to buff them with Unctus Retrofitter, or particularly the Combat Thresher or the Malcator's Watcher or your Swooping Lookout. I think the problem with Unctus Retrofitter is that like so many of the times your opponent either kills the creature you're targeting, or they kill your Unctus Retrofitter, so you lose both the effect and your Unctus Retrofitter. And Unctus Retrofitter can get hit by those cut downs, which makes it kind of weak in that regard. Um, so yeah, in terms of maybe like a way to improve the deck, uh, without like spending any rares is just swapping out the Unctus Retrofitter, increasing your Michiko's Reign of Truth, and playing like some more lower cost artifact creatures. You could probably get rid of like a combat Thresher to swap out their prayer and recharges, and maybe like the stern lessons for more like cheaper creatures. And you can probably, if you're going to like skew your that's not accurate. That's not very accurate at all because it interprets this as a 9 cost when in reality this is a 4 drop and this is a 3 drop. So the curve this isn't accurate. The curve is much lower than this, much lower than that. It's actually pretty low, I would say, for the most part, because the highest our curve goes is 2 5 drops and 4 4 drops. So our curve isn't super high, so maybe you cut out a land or two. But if you switch to even more like an aggro, low to the ground artifact build, uh, you can potentially cut a land or two and go down to like 22 lands. That would be my take. Is that you could maybe cut out 2 lands, go for the network disruptors or the type artifact creature. How does this work? I don't know how to do more than one. But we looked at it here. Type artifact. So there are like other ones. Steel Seraph, an amazing artifact creature. So if you're still looking for things to throw in that are rares, if you have them, Steel Seraph, I just love this card. The choices between like Vigilance, Lifelink, and giving something else flying is just amazing. But maybe Network Disruptor is an interesting one because it can tap down any blockers that they might have, and then it's a flying artifact 1/1 that will give you more artifacts to hit with your Michiko, or to like buff up your Michiko's Reign of Truth even more. Honestly, I still like the Metamorphs here because they can copy the Michiko's Reign of Truth when it flips, so you can just get a massive creature. So I don't know if the Metamorphs are that bad. Honestly, it seems super good here. Getting those 3/3 flyers for 4 is not bad. Um, Particularly with Vigilance. Trying to think if anything else here would go. I mean, you could throw in like Unctus maybe. Whatever well, these are these have Vigilance, so maybe not. We're not going to be having a ton of creatures that tap now, are we? But yeah, I don't have any more ideas for how to improve the deck. I would say perhaps just search around online. There's plenty of people uh, have like looked into artifacts, aggro, or like artifact decks in the meta, and so uh, do I think they're fully explored? No, but there are at least 1 or 2 videos online for this standard that I would say you could check out. Besides that, I guess I should go through the deck tech and talk about each card real quickly. Lay down arms, exile creature with mana value less than the number of planes you control. That's part of the reason why we're playing Idyllic Breachfront here. 1 mana, one of the best removals in white right now. Look, Sweeping Lookout, artifact creature, flying vigilance. 2 toughness is somewhat relevant, which is nice. Destroy Evil, this is removal for the shield drids or anything too big for us to deal with, or maybe like if they have. I'm trying to think of any other relevant creatures. Vindicator would be a very good example. Phyrexian Vindicator is a 5/5 flyer that basically is indestructible to damage, so getting rid of it with Destroy Evil is nice. And then we can also hit enchantments, which might be relevant in some situations. I'm trying to think of any like super popular enchantments. Oh, here's one. Fable the Mirror Breaker. I completely forgot about that. Anyways, Michiko Reign of Truth, +1/+1 for each artifact and creature you control, or artifact and enchantment you control onto a particular creature for the first 2 sides, or the first 2 chapters of the saga, and then it becomes a biggish creature depending on how many artifacts and creatures you could. Artifacts and enchantments. Why do I keep on saying creatures? Malcator's Watcher, 1/1 with flying with vigilance for 2. It's an artifact creature, which is nice. The fact that it's a 1/1 is a little bit worse than the Sweeping Lookout, funny enough, but when it dies, it draws a card, which is huge, because if you start copying with Hulking Metamorph, you have multiple creatures. Well, you have a 3/3 flyer for 4 with flying and vigilance, right? With vigilance is part of like the key part of that. And then when it dies, it draws a card. So if you can copy the Malcator's Watcher with Hulking Metamorph, super cool. Trust the Spirit Realm. This is kind of removal in the deck as well. Can hit artifacts or creatures. And then lastly, we can go ahead and channel it for 2 mana, and this can act as a bit of a protection spell for our prototypes here. Or well, for our creatures, and it can also flip our prototypes. So we play out a prototype for 4, we blink it with Touch of a Spirit Realm, it becomes a 7/7 9-drop, which is awesome. Stern Lesson, this card is here to help us draw more cards, and then it also creates a powerstone token, which can help us ramp into like an actual 7/drop combat Thresher, or just help us to pay 1 mana of Malcator's Watcher. And then the discard card means that we can discard a hulking Metamorph and repair and recharge it eventually. Unctus Retrofitter, this is just forms a really neat combo with like cards like Combat Thresher, Malcator's Watcher, Swooping Lookout, because we can turn a 1/1 flyer into a 4/4 flyer, and that is pretty dope. And then it turns a 1/1 doublestriker into a 4/4 double striker. And then that gets to the point of hulking Metamorph. Similarly to Unctus Retrofitter, instead of buffing up that creature to 4 toughness and 4 power, we just create a copy of it that has 3 toughness and 3 power. So we can create a copy of Combat Thresher. When it enters the battlefield, we also draw a card, which is dope. I think it works that way. But it's also a 3/3 double striker then for 4 mana. Or we get another 3/3 flyer with flying and vigilance. I realized I said flyer with flying and vigilance, so that was redundant. I said flying twice. Whatever. Repair and recharge. Return target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker you control, or card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Create a powerstone token. Powerstone token, again, just more artifacts to buff up Michiko's Reign of Truth, which is cool. And then also, it can return our prototypes at their full cost. It can also potentially return the Michiko's Reign of Truth because it's an enchantment. It can also potentially return the Touch of the Spirit Realm because it is an enchantment. But it can't return creatures. It's basically a very budget version of Invoke Despair, which I don't know if I would even really recommend running in this deck, just because Invoke Despair, not Invoke Despair, Justice. The only invoke that I ever really see, I feel like, is Despair, so maybe that's why I keep saying everything is Invoke Despair. It lives in my nightmares. Invoke Justice, return target permanent, so you can return anything, a creature or planeswalker, and then you get to put 4/+1 counters on vehicle or creatures. So we're playing this as basically a budget way to return our stuff, but it's nice because it only has 2 white pips. And that's the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button. Consider subscribing. It helps out a ton. Leave a comment. Let me know what you would change about this deck, where you would take this deck. And if you guys have any interesting ideas, I'd love to hear them. And have a nice morning, evening, night, afternoon, wherever and whenever you're watching. Ciao.